system at SGPGI Lucknow and involvement in various hospital development projects nationwide. This multifaceted experience exposed her to the entire software development life cycle. Her passion for software testing and quality lead her to lead CDEC's software testing group from 2012. Her leadership extended to external projects also, including those are for Delhi Authority, Development Authority and Directorate Journal of Civil Aviation. In 2012, she earned her MTech in Computer Science from MIT University. As the designated responsible member in 2012, she oversaw the development of the online examination system that is still in use by the Air Force, Navy, and more. Since 2019, she has been at the helm of the Software Quality Assurance and Program Management Office group at CDEC, overseeing the attainment of CMMI Level 5 version 2.0 certification for the fourth time since 2011. Her leadership extends to spearheading CDEC's internal development team focused on automating essential organizational workflows. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us. Now the stage is yours.
Okay, I'll just... Is the presentation visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. The reason why I have chosen this topic of importance of understanding project management is because in my 25 years plus of experience at CDAC, I realized project management is something that we often ignore at the beginning of our career. That's because we are focusing on either coding or we are focusing on acquiring skills related to designing of the software. And project management is something which unfortunately accidentally comes to us. That's because we are doing technically excellent job and then this onus of managing a project accidentally falls on us and we have been ignoring it. So I thought I should make you all understand that right from day one, you need to have your basics clear related to project management, because surely anytime after 3 years, 3 to 5 years, there could be a chance where you would be asked to step and manage a project. I have tried to explain this topic in a very simple manner. I will not be throwing any technical jargons. I will try to keep it as simple as possible because I want you to understand the essence. And then maybe at the end of the session, you will be able to appreciate why it is important for us to at least get a broad idea about this topic. Before we start project management, I would like to just clear the definition of a project. The standard definition of a project is that it's a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product or service. Now, two things I want to tell you here. Project means temporary. That means it will have an end date. You cannot call anything as a project which does not have an end date. And it should create something unique, some product which is unique or some service which is unique. Now, very often the distinction between job, project, exploration is not clear. If I try to explain this very simply. Job is something that we do in a routine manner and where there is not much of an uncertainty. For example, I come from I come to office every day. It's a job. I clear my files. It's a job. That's because there is no uncertainty in that. All of you would remember that we sent our vehicle to Mars. Now, that is an exploration project where we are trying to find something, explore something, or finding a cure for some disease. So, project comes somewhere in between. You can see these are all examples of projects. I have to make a new product, new mobile. I have to make a new application. I have to change the structure of an organization. I have to design a new vehicle. Anything which is having some amount of uncertainty, which is temporary, that is, it has an end date, it will fall into the category of a project. Sometimes, yes, it becomes difficult in cases like, for example, I said Football World Cup in Paris in 98. Is it a project? Some of you will say, no, it's not a project. But then some of you would argue, yes, it's a project. Because why it's a project? Because it has an end date. The World Cup will finish one day. There is a lot of planning that is to be done. Resources will be involved. Tickets will have to be published. Tickets will have to be sold. People will come. They have to be managed. Matches have to be organized. So in that sense, yes, it is a project. Not taking much time because on this discussion related to project, I'll directly come to how can you decide if it is a project or not. If you're doing something non-routine, like I already said, file clearing is something which I do in a routine manner. So it's not a project. Going and taking my lunch in the canteen is something routine. It's not a project. So it has to be something non-routine. Planned. There has to be some amount of planning to be done. If I have to make a new application, I have to plan how much time it will take. And then there has to be a target. What is to be done? There has to be some objective. And generally, it is a work carried out for a customer. My customer will ask me for some project, product. So it will be for a customer. Next point is very important. It will involve several kind of specializations. For example, if you are developing an application, you would need a coder, you would need a designer, you would need a tester, you would need somebody who would implement it for you at the site. You would need somebody for hosting the server for you. So a lot of specializations will be involved if you are executing a project. Then we could also have projects in different phases. For example, I have a project where I have to automate a hospital. So I may say, okay, I will do this project in two phases. Number one, I will automate the hospital clinical section. Number two, I will automate the non-clinical sections. What are the non-clinical sections in a hospital? For example, my HR, my administration. So then I can clearly have my project divided into two phases. First is the clinical phase and the second is the non-clinical phase. My project will always be constrained by time and resources. As I already said, project means uski end date pakka hogi. There'll be an end date marked on it. So there'll be a constraint of time and there'll be a constraint of resources. Can I put 100 people on a project? Of course, if it's a big project, I can put. But if it is a short project, I will have 5 people working with me for 6 months. And generally, a project will be large and it may be complex also. Now, what we need to understand is in an organization, how is a project comes to us and how do we formalize the project? So what we do is there is something called a project charter. So that document is something which will recognize the authority of the project manager. It will give the direction to the project manager about the objectives of the project and all the key stakeholders. We'll come to what are stakeholders in the context of a project, but all the stakeholders will sign the charter. I'll just show you an example. Like this is a sample project charter. What is the project? What is the start date? What is the finish date? Who is going to be the project manager? What is the objective? What will be the approach which will be followed? What are the roles and responsibilities of the various people, and sign off of all the stakeholders? So once this project charter is signed, then the authority is given to the project manager. Now you are the project manager of this project and you have to manage the project. Okay, is this clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now I'm just trying to first explain few terms so that when we discuss, it will be clear to everyone what we are talking. And then one more important person in the context of a project is a stakeholder. Stakeholder means somebody who has interest in your project, and that interest may be positive or negative. Now immediately you will say, okay, stakeholder means my customer, stakeholder means who is sponsoring, who is giving the money, my organization, like in case CDAC is doing the project, so I am the performing organization, so I will be the stakeholder. My project manager will be the stakeholder, my team will be the stakeholder, public at large may be the stakeholder. It is not so easy. Trust me, it's not so easy to identify stakeholders. I'll give you an example. Some years back in UP, there was a building construction project. The project was over and the allotment was about to happen. And suddenly the farmers on whose land that apartment was made, they suddenly said, they went to the court and they said, compensation has not been given to us properly, and this we will not allow the allotment till we are suitably compensated. So what happened? The project manager had not identified all the stakeholders. So it's very important to identify all. There are hidden stakeholders, but they need to be identified and we need to see, because they will influence our project negatively or positively. Okay. Now, this is all about the introduction. What is a project? Who is a project manager? How is the authority given to a project manager? And then who are stakeholders? Now, let me try to come to our topic, which we want to understand. The question is, why do projects fails? If everything is so clear, we have a project manager, he's given a team, he's given a timeline, he's given an objectives. Why do projects fail? The unfortunate part is the reasons are endless. The reason why projects, I'm mostly today I'll try to talk about general projects also, but then my focus will be on software projects. So this list is all the reasons why a software project could fail. So what do we need to do? Is there no way out? Because see, some of the reasons I will discuss with you. 2-3 top reasons I'll discuss with you. I remember once I was taking the requirements for one of the projects, and what happened after the requirements, we had developed the first, we were due for our first UAT. So as soon as the application was shown to the committee, they said, oh, no, 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 this is not to be done like this. Please change this like this. Please add this here. And those changes, trust me, were very big changes. And suddenly, it struck me, if it was a building or a house which was made by an architect, would the client do the same thing? Would he say, no, 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 bring down this wall, close this window, open the window from this side? No, 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 this fan, this electricity point you have given here, bring it here. Would he do it? But in my case, he was going ballistic. He was giving me so many changes. The reason being, because he felt software is something very simple. I'll tell her and she will be able to make the changes. So that is where the first reason, the very important reason of our software project failing is scope creep. So actually the project scope is what we are supposed to do. But then what happens is in normal projects, scope creep is very natural. The customer, once he sees the first iteration of your application, he will give you changes like anything. So this is one very important reason why projects fail. Second thing, I know that for any project, I need resources, mostly manpower. Okay, we need resources like systems, servers, and all. Even those are resources. So, resources, material resources, as they are called. So, resources are required for any project. But then, do we have the right kind of resources? If I'm doing a very complex project and I need people of 5 years experience, but my organization hands me over freshers, do you think I'll be able to do justice? Will I be able to develop the project in the given time? What do you think? Can I have some answers so that I know people are listening? Do you think if I don't get the right kind of resources, the correct number of resources that are required, my project will be successful?
Yes, participants can type your answers in the chat box, please.
So that I know you're listening. Otherwise, it's like I'm talking into a black hole. Boli do, you can say yes, no. Okay. So the answer is, if I'm not given the right kind of resources by the organization, the project may not be successful. And then we already talked about stakeholder, and I gave you a very right example, a very good example, how a hidden stakeholder who comes into picture at a much later stage then ends up, causing problem in the project. Then one more thing is estimation. Whenever we get a project, the project manager has done some estimation project, what is the size of the project, what is the time I require, what is the resources I require. So if the estimation is not done properly, suppose a project comes to me and I say, I will take 6 months and I will need a team of 6 people. But if my estimation is wrong and I have underestimated, so I will not be able to deliver the project in time. These are very basic things. I'm not talking anything which is, you're aware of all these things. Then one last key point is risk. Many project managers fail to manage the risks. And risks are very important because you will also have to sell the risks to your senior management. For example, I'll give you an example what selling a risk means. For example, if in my project, or let me give you a very simple example, let's not go to a software project also. Suppose in my organization, I need to keep 2 guards at the gate because the risk is theft may. Yes, sir.
Dr. Vijay Patil, would you like to ask any question? You have raised your hand. Ma'am, I think it's by mistake. You can continue.
No problem. So what happens is, if I realize that for security reasons, I have to keep 2 guards at my gate, my management may say, what is the need? You don't need. So I have to explain them the risk. That see, theft may happen, something untoward may happen. So I have to keep these 2 guards. So I have to sell the risk because risk is something untoward which may happen. So sometimes the management is not ready to spend money for mitigating that risk. So in that case, we may have to sell the risk to our senior man. Many times it happens. So a project man, what I want to tell here, if the project manager is not cautious about keeping a track of his risks, then risk management may become an issue. So there are various ways in which we can handle the risk. I think we'll not get into that detail. Um, just simple few examples of risks. Suppose if we don't get the approvals of our document on time by the customer, that's a risk, because then in that case my schedule will be hampered. Or I don't get the correct or complete requirements, then in that case my cost schedule may get impacted. So these are some risks which a project manager needs to, right at the beginning of the project, during the project, he needs to maintain, and he has to keep a track which risk is important and which risk priority basically he has to keep tracking throughout the project. And whenever there is an issue, he has to take action on that risk. Okay. Um, till now, if I ask you the question, whatever we have discussed till now, if I ask you the question, why do you think projects fail? You will say, okay, that means management is not proper. Project management is not proper. Okay, I agree with you that the most important factor is the improper management. But then we need to understand, as I already said, this is a very important skill that we need to acquire. Now, assuming till now we are talking about failures, project, if project is failing, this will happen, that will happen, that will happen. Now, let me focus my attention to how do you call a project is successful? Okay, enough of failures. I'm sure if I ask you, you will also give me 2-3 more reasons why a project could fail. But now let us focus on the project success. What is the project? How is the project successful? And then what is the way to get success in projects each and every time? So successful project is where your customer is satisfied, where your sponsor who is taking out the money is satisfied, you've met the objective. And there is one more important thing, that is, it is called, you have met the triple constraint, you have managed the triple constraint. So what is a triple constraint? This is a triangle. Can you see this triangle? So we have time, we have cost, and we have scope. The beauty of this triangle is that if I try to increase one side, the other side will also increase, and it will always try to remain a equilateral triangle. And the job of the project manager is to manage all these three things. He has to manage time. Project should not go beyond the end date. He has to manage the cost. Suppose I have said that I will execute this project in 50 lakhs. Then during my 6 months, I have to ensure that I don't go overboard and spend more than 50 lakhs. Scope, I already discussed with you. Scope is something that I need to do in the project. My customer will every time try to change my scope, add new things, change things here. If I'm a good project manager, I will try to manage my scope by having a strict change control mechanism in the project. And if you can see, there is one, in between these three things, there is quality lying in between. So what is the quality doing here? It's a very beautiful concept. If we are trying to, suppose for example, hypothetically, if I reduce the time of the project, if I, play with my scope, I don't develop all the features, if I don't do my testing properly, so automatically, apart from these three factors, my quality will get impacted. So this is what this slide is talking about. This is the triple constraint. We have to manage the scope, we have to manage the schedule, we have to manage the cost. And in case if we are able to do this properly, our quality also will be managed. So koi bhi project in which we have managed scope, schedule, cost, met the objectives, our customer is satisfied, then we can say that the project is a success. Now, it's easier saying than doing it. So project management means it involves applying knowledge, all the skills, tools, so that we are able to meet the project requirement. So that means project management encompasses so many things. Whatever knowledge a project manager is, whatever his skills, all the tools and techniques that are there, he has to apply them to the project and ensure that the project is delivered successfully. Now for this, I will try to explain few things which will make you understand the basics of projects, very basics of project. In any project, there are 5 main, these are called as process groups. In simple life also, these actually we are doing this, I'll explain. Initiating, planning, executing, it is monitoring and controlling actually, and closure. Suppose I'm planning for a party, my birthday party. So my first phase will be initiating. What I'll do is, in my initiating phase, I will try to make a list of the things. I will try to, get the budget from my parents. I will try to see where I will, host the party, how many friends I will call. So all that will come in initiating phase. Then I will plan. Then I will actually plan. I will go to all the places. I will check their per plate cost, their timings, booking, all those things. And then I will actually execute my project, in the sense, the day my birthday party is there, the party is taking place. And then throughout, I will be monitoring and controlling. Is food okay? Has the cake come on time? Has everybody joined? Are drinks enough? Okay. So all that, what I will be doing will be monitoring and controlling. And finally, my party will be over. So it will be closure. So even a normal project is just like your birthday party. You will be doing all these things. You will be following all these processes. So these 5 process groups, whenever anybody says a project, these are the 5 things that should come to our mind. Okay, we have to do an initiation, we have to do planning, then we will be executing the project, then monitoring and controlling will be done throughout the project, and finally we will close the project. So this is something like this. You have initiation, you have planning, and you can see the monitoring and controlling has a wider, it encompasses wider. जैसे मैंने initiation शुरू किया, as soon as I started my initiation, my monitoring and control comes into picture, because I can go wrong in initiation phase also, I can go wrong in planning phase also, I can go wrong in execution phase also, and then finally I will close the project. Fine, is this clear?
Yes, ma'am.
And now this is a simple project. Now I gave you the example of a birthday party. Now this is an example of a building project. Initiation mein what we will do, we will see the feasibility, whether the building can be made here, whether all the things what we need are available around. We will appoint an architect, we will appoint the project manager. So this is our initiation. Then planning mein what we will do, we will make the plan, building plan, we will do the estimation, we'll try to get the funding, we'll try to get all the government approvals which were required for making that building. Then when we are actually executing, we will be doing the construction. And if we have given subcontracted our tasks to our other people, to other contractors, we will be managing them also, because everything we cannot do. Maybe we have subcontracted the electrical tasks to somebody else, and then commissioning of the things gradually and managing the resources. And in the end, when we come to closing, what we will do, we will try to get all the completion certificates from all the authorities. We will close our contracts. We will do the administrative closure. We will release the resources. We will release the manpower. Okay, and we will handle. Is this clear? If this picture of a project process group is clear to you, half my job is done. Okay. So now, same thing in terms of software, let me tell. What we will be doing in initiation, we will try to develop some business where we'll be sending our proposal. We will get the approval of that proposal, and then we will prepare the project charter and we will authorize the project manager. This is your project. Then planning. In the planning, we will be planning for the scope, all the activities that we need to do in the project, what are the resources that we need. We need to plan for our costing, costs, schedule kaise hoga, how much time we will take for each activity, if there is any procurement. So, and please understand, planning is done again and again, again and again. A good project manager will be planning and replanning, because whenever there is a change in anything, he will again plan. And planning is a crucial thing. If you're just from your birthday party example, if you had not planned well, your birthday party will be a failure. So planning is the most important thing in a project. Then execution, you understand, we will actually be doing the things, we will be doing the developing our, taking the requirement, we will be doing the coding, we will be doing the designing, we will be doing the testing, our quality team will be working, the project manager will also be doing the risk, and our resources will be working, we will be doing team development also in terms of trainings and everything. So executing is where actually the task is happening, the project is getting executed. Monitoring and controlling means we will try to see whether our project is handling its scope well, schedule, will I finish on time, whether whether my project is within the budget, whether I'm meeting all my quality objectives, because we have certain quality objectives also for a project, like effort variance to nahi ho raha hai mera, schedule variance should not happen, my bugs, there will be parameter related to my bug fixing. Okay? So all these things will be monitored and controlled during this process group. And if there is any problem, it needs to be corrected. And the last one, as we already said, is the closing. That's the final. We have given the deliverables to the customer, taken his approval. All the administrative closure happens. And one important thing, we document the lessons learned. Whatever we have learned in this project, every project gives us some lessons where we learn certain things. So if we don't document those things, then those lessons will be lost. So the lessons learned will be documented. Okay, now I will introduce you to a term called knowledge areas. You don't need to remember them as knowledge areas. You can remember them as areas which a project manager needs to focus on. Scope, time, cost, quality, we already discussed. And I think you would have understood by this time that these 4 parameters are very important. Okay? They are the ones that a project manager needs to focus on at all the times. But then we have others also, like resource management. All the people who are in the project, they need to be managed. There should not be over allocation of the people, or we should not be having lesser resources. Communication, he needs to manage. Risk also we have discussed. And procurement needs to be managed. Stakeholder also we have discussed. Now I'll come to the most interesting part. I'll just show you one thing. Can you see this PDF that I have opened?
Yes, ma'am.
So if you can see, on the top, I have all the project management process groups. This is the key for what I'm showing you right now is the key for a successful project management. The top five, what you see are these process groups: initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, controlling, and closing. Is this clear? This blue line? And on my left-hand side, if you can see, I have all my knowledge areas. I'll come to what is project integration management, but before that, you can see the others: scope, schedule, cost, quality, resource, communication, risk, procurement, stakeholder management. Now, let me take one example so that it is clear. Let's take, let me take scope management. Initiation, it's a matrix, as you can see. So initiating, at the time of initiating, I don't need to do anything in terms of scope. But for planning, what I need to do, I need to manage how, I need to plan how I will manage my scope. How I will, if my scope changes, how I will handle that. Then the project manager will collect all the requirements. We will also document our scope formally, and we will create a work breakdown structure where every small task I will try to write. Now, in monitoring and control, I will keep validating my scope and controlling my scope. So if I am able to manage these tasks, 5.1, 5.2, 5.3, 5.4, 5.5, 5.6, that means this mapping between the process group and the knowledge area. So I would have managed my scope properly. Just Sarah. So similarly, if I need to manage my cost, so I first need to plan my cost. I need to estimate my cost. What is the budget? And then I need to control the cost. So this entire sheet that you see, if I'm able to take care of all these knowledge areas, process group wise, then I would have managed my project properly. Now there's one thing that, can you see the PPT again?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
The PDF, you can see the PPT, not the PDF, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now, as a project manager, I need to understand this mapping between all my process groups and the knowledge areas. What are the process groups? Initiating. You can also repeat with me. Initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling, closure. And what are the knowledge areas? Scope, cost, time, quality, human resource. Then what else was there? Communication, stakeholder. So as a project manager, if we are able to control all these things, so there are around 5 process groups, 10 knowledge areas, and about 49 tasks that a project manager needs to manage. You can see this. I'll just now try to show you brief screenshots for each one of them so that things are little clear to you. A lot of theories also sometimes see. The first one is, which I said I'll explain again, is the project integration. Integration means how I will execute each one of the tasks as per the process group. The moment I have executed all tasks in that PDF that I showed you, that matrix that I showed you, my project would have been, I would have managed the project in an integrated manner, because process group wise, I have taken care of all the knowledge area requirements. Is this clear? Now, this is my scope. This is a scope document. We are saying now we need to take care of scope. So the project manager maintains a scope document like this, where he says what is in the scope and what is out of scope. Then next thing is schedule. If I have to make a website, the project manager will have to maintain a schedule. When I will be doing planning, when I will, basically all that all the milestones of his project, all the activities of his project, when he will be completing, he will have to draw out a schedule. This I'm talking in terms of the knowledge areas only. Then in case of cost, he will have to maintain what is the planned cost and what is the actual cost, because only then he will be able to understand whether the project is within the budget or not. Then we come to quality. In terms of quality, the project manager will make all the quality plans. He will do the quality audits, and this is a non-conformance template that I have. Something in the project has found, it is found that it is not non-conforming. So this is the audit report. Then which other knowledge area the project manager will be looking into? Resources. So he will be exactly managing the resources in the project, when he needs them, how many resources he needs. So this management he will be doing. Then communication. The project manager will be having a full-fledged communication plan with him, wherein he will be saying who is the stakeholder, sponsor, how many, what is the communication method, what is the frequency I will communicate with my sponsor, and what are the things that I will be sending to him, and whose responsibility it is. So he will draw out a full-fledged communication plan throughout the project. Who has to be informed, when he has to be informed, what he is to be informed, how he is to be informed. So all these things he will be managing. Then let's come to stakeholder management. So stakeholder, I said two things are there. What is the level of interest of the stakeholder and what is his influence? So in terms of all the stakeholders, the project manager will be managing this matrix. As you can see, there are 4 stakeholders that have been mapped here, and who is falling in which quadrant, the project manager needs to keep monitoring throughout the project. Then which other knowledge area the project manager has to risk I already said. He has to manage, suppose if you can see the risks he is managing, this is a high risk, this is a low risk. So throughout the project, again, risk is one area which people tend to do in the beginning, then in between the project, risk is left by people. When the pressure increases, risk is left. But risk is a very important thing that needs to be managed for a project to be successful. Till the end, risk needs to be managed. Now, this brings me to the important question, which I told you in the beginning, that most of you will become accidental project managers because you will be doing technically good and then you will land up with the project manager profile. So for that, you need to understand how you need to groom yourself from today itself. So good project managers, their communication skills are very good because most of the times they are communicating, they are sending status reports, they are talking to people, they are negotiating the scope. Then the second skill which a person who is a good project manager, he should understand the costing, accounting, so that what costs have been planned and finishing it within the planned budget that he needs to manage. So budget management is something, and mostly costing you have in a project, you have staff cost, you have overhead, so that all needs to be managed. Then obviously project manager has to be organized. You cannot be casual. Everything has to be organized. Things have to be properly planned. A project manager should have a very good negotiation skill. Your customer most of the time will be trying to put some extra scope on you. He will be trying to put make you do extra work. So negotiation skills in terms of bagging the project, right from the time you have bagged the project, you need to have negotiation skill for pricing, for scope, for everything. You need to have good negotiation skill. And leadership, of course, we all understand. If you are managing a project, leading a project, you need to have good leadership skills. And of course, there will be tools which will help you. Your word processing tools will be there, where you will be creating your scope related documents, where you will be creating your status reports. Then you would also have your Excel sheets where you would be doing all your costing related things, where you will be making your graphs, where you will be storing. Some people even make their WBS in spreadsheets. and then you need to you would be communicating with lot of people, so your email, your access to your net, you need to have. And nowadays things have become very easy with project management softwares like MS Project is the standard one. We have Jira, and if you want to explore an open source tool, you have Libre Project also. Now that brings us to the question, why we need to learn project management. You cannot be a coder lifelong. You cannot be doing data modeling lifelong. You need to grow. For your personal development, you need to arm yourself with project management skill. It is not a skill that you can acquire in one day, 1 month, 1 year. It will take time. It will help you in your career advancement later. I'm sure you are freshers right now, most of you. But then if you start thinking, because I sometimes feel very sad with the kind of exposure I have had in projects, I feel very sad that initially we in our colleges, we ignore project management, we ignore quality. But then these are very important things which we need to never ignore and which actually will help us in our career advancement also. You will see once you do a formal project management certification 3 years down the line, your job prospects will suddenly increase. And even if some of you are planning for your entrepreneur opening, you want to be entrepreneur, these things, project management skills will help you. And as I already said, it's a long journey. You will start today. It will take you a lot of time to actually master these skills. Having said this, after the session today, if you want to pursue, if you you found it interesting, you can pursue various degrees are there or certifications are there. The best one which I can suggest to you is from PMI, Project Management Institute. They offer a project management certification, PMP, that's called Certified Project Manager. So you can have a look at that. If you don't want to do anything formally, you can have a look at all the online resources. So many professional networks are there. And of course, with hands-on experience, you will be able to learn the principles much faster. So with this, we come to the end of this session. Basically, the thing that I want to leave with all of you is, even if you are starting today, please do not ignore project management, because whatever you will be doing, whether it's coding, whether you are an analyst, or whether you are doing designing, you are part of a project. Please keep looking around what others are doing, how the project on a larger scale is being managed. If you are able to gain insight into that, then you will find that this project management is very interesting and it will be very helpful for your career advancement also. So with this, I end here. Thank you.
Any query to any participant? You can type your query in the chat box. I think no query, ma'am. You have delivered such a wonderful session.
Sorry. The thing is, I feel very sad actually. I don't know whether in your this thing you have this subject, project management subject, but I feel people generally ignore it, and it is actually a very essential skill because you are never working in isolation. You're always part of the project. So you need to understand the nuances of project from the word go. That's what I have to sum up after almost
Yes,
30 years
ma'am.
experience.
And there is one query in the chat box. Can you please answer?
Uh, Okay, what is the average salary of a project manager? See, if you are a certified, I will not be able to give you any figure as such, because it will also depend on the domain from which you are doing. Like if you are a develop. You've gone from, you are a project manager who is going to manage the software applications, or you are a project manager who is going to manage the infrastructure. It will all depend on your skill also. But the only thing I can tell you right now for your question is that in case if you want uh, a salary in the best band, you should do your PMP certification from PMI. I would suggest all of you to go today to the PMI site and see the project management certification. And I think after 3 years of experience, 3 to 5 years of experience, all of you will be eligible to do that certification, because that is a very, I'm not propagating, there is another one called Prince 2 also. But what I'm trying to say is, please get yourself certified from a organization, so that then you can command the best salary. But the salary will also depend on your skill and the certification that you have achieved.
Any other query from anyone? I think no, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much for such a knowledgeable and wonderful session that you have given here to us.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, all of you.